In the vast, unyielding reaches of space, where time often feels stretched and reality is bent by the gravitational forces of the unknown, two astronauts set off on a mission that would push the boundaries of human endurance. Sunita Suni Williams and Barry Butch Wilmore's journey began in June 2024, but the story that unfolded in the months that followed would turn their planned 8-day mission into an unexpected, heart-pounding saga of survival, resilience, and humanity's unrelenting quest for the stars. The countdown begins. The stage was set. June 5th, 2024. The Boeing Starliner spacecraft, gleaming under the summer sun, sat ready on the launch pad. The mission? A simple test flight for the Starliner, a commercial spacecraft designed to ferry astronauts to and from the International Space Station. Among the crew was the experienced astronaut Suni Williams, a veteran of 2 space missions and the holder of the longest spaceflight by a woman, and her colleague Butch Wilmore, who had previously been to space on 2 missions, bringing a wealth of experience to the table. The world was watching. The spacecraft slowly ascended, cutting through the atmosphere like a knife through air. For those watching from Earth, it was a historic moment, a symbol of progress, and the promise of a future where space travel becomes routine. As the spacecraft docked successfully with the ISS, the initial excitement soon gave way to a quiet tension. But in the backdrop, something was amiss. While the crew was settling in, engineers back on Earth were noticing anomalies with the Starliner's propulsion system. A series of minor but concerning malfunctions were detected in the spacecraft's thruster systems, grounding any plans for the astronauts to return home. But the real shock came when it became clear that the problems were not temporary. The thrusters would require a much longer fix than initially anticipated. Trapped in space. For the astronauts aboard the ISS, what was supposed to be a quick, straightforward mission suddenly morphed into a prolonged stay in space. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And still, the Starliner sat dormant, tethered to Earth by nothing more than a thin thread of hope. Williams and Wilmore, accustomed to the rigor of space missions, remained unfazed. They began a new routine, conducting scientific experiments, maintaining the ISS, and exploring their limits. But as the days dragged on, they began to face a harsh reality. The astronauts quickly adapted to their new life in space. They ran experiments, tested new technologies, and even found ways to stay mentally sharp. Williams, ever the adventurer, even became the first astronaut to complete a marathon in space, running the 2007 Boston Marathon on a treadmill aboard the ISS. Still, the longer they stayed, the greater the strain on their mental and physical health. The sense of isolation grew as they began to miss simple things: the smell of fresh air, the warmth of Earth's gravity, the taste of fresh food. But the public back home had no idea what was really happening behind the scenes. News outlets reported on the mission's delay, but as time passed, the situation grew more tense. Public interest shifted from excitement to concern. Families, friends, and colleagues all waited for any update on the astronauts' fate. The world watches. Back on Earth, the drama of the stranded astronauts unfolded in real time. Social media erupted with speculation and concern. Every tweet, every news article was a cry for information. People were glued to their screens, wondering how Williams and Wilmore were holding up, how much longer they could survive in the cold silence of space. In their homes, families and loved ones wrestled with uncertainty. But the astronauts never lost focus. They remained in contact with NASA, undergoing health checks and performing emergency maintenance on the ISS. They even participated in live-streamed events, giving the world a glimpse into their extraordinary lives. During one of these broadcasts, Suni Williams, despite the strain, exhibited her typical warmth and humor. She shared stories about life aboard the ISS, talking about the beautiful view of Earth and the thrill of watching storms form from orbit. She made jokes about floating food and the odd sensation of floating in zero gravity. As time passed, the reality began to sink in for the public. Could they be stranded forever? Was NASA going to leave them up there indefinitely? The tension reached a breaking point. The countdown to return. After 8 long months, the engineers at NASA had finally managed to get the Starliner's thruster systems operational again. The astronauts, though physically weary, were filled with a renewed sense of purpose. The time for their return had come. A plan was put into motion. SpaceX's Dragon capsule, dubbed Freedom, would be used for the return trip to Earth. It wasn't just about getting them home. It was about getting them home safely, no matter the cost. March 18th, 2025 was the day that would forever be etched in history. As the Dragon capsule re-entered the Earth's atmosphere, the world held its breath. The capsule, a small speck against the backdrop of the vast sky, cut through the atmosphere, reaching temperatures of over 2,000 degrees Celsius. It was a tense few minutes as the capsule deployed its parachutes and descended toward the Gulf of Mexico. The aftermath of space. When Williams and Wilmore emerged from the capsule, they were greeted with cheers and applause from the rescue teams and NASA personnel. The relief was palpable. Their journey had been nothing short of extraordinary, and their safe return was a triumph, not just for them, but for humanity as a whole. But returning to Earth wasn't as simple as just stepping off the spacecraft. After 286 days in space, the astronauts were no longer accustomed to gravity. Their muscles and bones had weakened in microgravity, and the Earth's gravity felt like a heavy burden. In the days that followed, the astronauts underwent extensive medical evaluations. Their physical condition was closely monitored as they slowly reacclimated to Earth's gravity. The effects of long-term space travel, such as muscle atrophy and bone density loss, were significant, and the road to recovery would take months. Despite the challenges, the astronauts were determined to recover. Their story had captured the hearts of millions, and their resilience became an inspiration for people everywhere. The global impact. The return of Suni Williams and Butch Wilmore was more than just a personal triumph, it was a global event. People from around the world celebrated their return, and their story became a symbol of human perseverance. But it was not just the astronauts' journey that captivated people, it was the collective will to see them return. In India, where Suni Williams had become a national hero, people from her hometown of Julasan in Gujarat took to the streets to celebrate. Her story became a beacon of hope, especially for young women interested in science, technology, and space exploration. Schools, universities, and space organizations worldwide honored her achievements, and her message of determination resonated deeply with aspiring astronauts everywhere, beyond the stars. For Williams and Wilmore, the mission wasn't just about surviving space, it was about advancing human knowledge. The experiments they conducted aboard the ISS could provide insights into the effects of long-term space travel on the human body, knowledge that will be crucial for future missions to Mars and beyond. But beyond the scientific data, their journey was a reminder of why humans explore space in the first place, to challenge the limits of what is possible. Their return wasn't just a success for NASA, it was a triumph for humanity's unrelenting desire to reach for the stars. And in the years to come, as humanity looks to colonize the moon and send missions to Mars, the lessons learned from Williams and Wilmore's extraordinary journey will play a critical role in shaping the future of space exploration. Coming back from space is no easy feat, but if you thought that was intense, just wait until you hear the latest on Kanye West. His story takes things to a whole new level. If you enjoyed this incredible video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.